Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Lazelle. I'm the business website director at Healy Consultants Group in Singapore. With me today is Previn. He is the senior client relationship manager at Healy Consultants, and he's also in our Singapore office. Good morning, Previn.
Morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Previn. It's Friday, so we have that Friday feeling, hopefully.
Yes, correct.
Previn, this morning we're going to talk about a really interesting engagement. Interesting because it involves the country of Tajikistan in Central Asia.
Yep.
And I think what it does, before I ask some details from you on the engagement, what I think this engagement highlights is the sheer geographical scope of our capabilities and our reach. That we are able to successfully complete engagements in countries such as Tajikistan for our clients around the world. So it will be very interesting to hear a little bit about this. Previn, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the client, what sort of business they're in, and what they were looking to do in Tajikistan?
Okay. So our client was initially based in UK, and then they had other companies in I think Ireland, and then a few other countries in Europe as well. And they got a contract to conduct their business operations in Tajikistan, which is why they had to set up business presence in this particular country. With this client, it's quite interesting. Their business operations were to extract certain minerals from the ground in different countries. So they were specifically providing this service to their suppliers. They were extracting, I think, a dangerous liquid of some sort from the ground. So with these types of business operations, it's specific to certain countries. So they had a contract specifically in Tajikistan, and I think a few other countries in Central Asia and Europe as well. So they needed our assistance to set up a branch office in Tajikistan, just to mirror what their business activities were conducting in UK and other parts of Europe as well. So we assisted them to set up a branch office in Tajikistan, and also all the required, business services that they required for this branch in Tajikistan.
Okay, so in terms of setting up a branch in Tajikistan, what are the kind of steps that we have to bear in mind?
Sure. So for a branch office in Tajikistan, they would first have to apply for application with the Tajikistan authorities that exactly mirrors what they were currently doing with their parent company. And for this instance, it was in UK. So the first step was to appoint a nominee resident director, finalize the corporate structure of the branch office, which was exactly what they had in the UK company. And then after that, we had to fill out all the required paperwork, get the documents approved, get the nominee resident director appointed, and then file all of the required branch incorporation documents with the Tajikistan authority. We also had to get certain documents notarized. For example, we had to get the company extract of the parent company notarized and apostilled in the UK before we couriered them to Tajikistan. And also we had to do the same for the shareholders of the company. All of their passport copies, their proof of addresses had to be notarized and apostilled and couriered to Tajikistan. So this was a brief summary of the documents that we had to prepare, and also the steps that we had to take. So once we had appointed the nominee resident director, filled out the required branch incorporation forms, and then after that we were submitted to the Tajikistan government authority for their review, and then once approved, finally we get the branch incorporated.
Yeah, I'm assuming also, Previn, as part of that process, we had to get the documents once they had arrived in Tajikistan, notarized and apostilled. They then had to be translated into the Tajik language. Would that be correct?
Correct. So all of the documents that are in English will have to be first translated into the Tajik language and then finally submitted to the government authorities.
Okay, and did you find that created any significant delays to the process, or was that fairly straightforward, done through our local partner on the ground in Tajikistan?
Yeah, so it was not a hassle or inconvenient at all, because we were very well assisted by our local lawyers on the ground that were assisting us with the translation of the documents. So our only concern was that we needed to get these documents couriered from our client's country, which was UK, to the Tajikistan. And at that point of time, there were some COVID restrictions with lockdowns, etc. So that resulted in a bit of a delay. But other than that, it was very smooth sailing in terms of getting the documents translated to Tajik language and then submitted.
Perfect. So that's the actual steps to set up the branch office or the branch in Tajikistan. Were there any specific licensing requirements? Obviously, you mentioned there that the activity was, extraction of natural resources. Did that require any specific licensing in Tajikistan or not?
No. So for this particular engagement, I think they had the tender already granted to them, and they already had the required clearances from the government to carry out their business activities, but we were not engaged for any licensing application for this particular engagement.
No problem. I assume we were asked to open a corporate bank account for the branch.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you just talk us through that a little bit, please?
Sure. So for the bank account opening for a branch office in Tajikistan, it has to be a local corporate bank account. And also because they were conducting operations within the branch office in Tajikistan, it had to be a local bank account. So we contacted the various local Tajikistan banks, and the process to complete the bank account opening was done quite smoothly and quite fast because we had a lot of assistance and help with our local lawyer on the ground, and this was completed within 1 week, and we managed to open the bank account with a local Tajik bank called the International Bank of Tajikistan. So that was completed within 1 week of us providing all of the signed documents, bank account opening forms, KYC documents of the bank signatory, and our clients' KYC documents. Once we submitted all of this to the bank, our local lawyer on the ground assisted us to submit it to the bank itself. And within 1 week of submitting the documents, we got approval and the bank account numbers for the International Bank of Tajikistan bank account.
Okay, very good. Very, very good. So just to recap, total engagement time, including setting up the branch and the bank account, what sort of time frame are we talking about, Previn?
Usually we are looking at 2 months to set up the branch office, and a further 2 months to set up the bank account, and 2 weeks after we set up the bank account, e-banking access to follow. But this engagement took a slightly longer time than that because of the lockdowns that were faced by our client. So there was quite a bit of delay in between because we weren't getting the documents couriered from UK to Tajikistan. So there were slight delays in between the initially agreed timelines between ourselves and our clients. But we managed to get the documents couriered eventually once the lockdowns were lifted, and our client was permitted to get the documents notarized, apostilled, and then eventually couriered to Tajikistan. So we are looking at roughly around 4 months for incorporation of the branch and bank account opening to be completed.
Okay, you've given us obviously a very comprehensive overview of the engagement there, Previn. You've made it sound easy. Were there any particular challenges that stood out? I mean, obviously you talked there briefly about the COVID situation, which delayed a bit of courier sort of activity and what have you. Were there any other specific challenges that jumped out that will be common to this engagement or perhaps on future Tajik engagements?
Yeah, so I think the main difficulties that I faced was what you mentioned. We weren't able to get the client to courier the documents. That was one of them. And then the second one was that no notary or, notary public was open at that point of time for a couple of months. So that severely delayed the timeframes because without the documents apostilled or notarized according to the Tajik requirements, there was no chance of us getting the branch incorporated. So those were the two main points that I faced in terms of difficulty throughout the engagement. Other than that, I think we were very lucky to be well assisted by our local lawyer on the ground, which helped us to, avoid certain, issues that we might have faced, but we managed to overcome those issues, and then we successfully managed to complete most parts of the engagement as soon as we could, given the requirements were the restrictions were lifted in terms of COVID. last year.
Absolutely. Was this your first Tajikistan engagement, Previn?
Yes.
Okay.
This was my first. Yep.
And what are the takeaways from it? Assuming you'll get another one hopefully in the near future, what would be some of the learnings from this one that you will take forward over and above what you've already just described to us?
I think what I would probably take away was that we probably would have to let our client know that the timelines that we agree with them at the start of the engagement, it can be sometimes flexible in terms of there might be some delays along the way, and to also let the client know that we are doing our best with the requirements that we need to meet. But in terms of overall, I think it will be a smooth sailing engagement. There's not much difficulty that I would face if we were in a situation that there were no restrictions or no COVID, issues that we will have to handle with. So I think in terms of handling a new Tajik engagement in the future, probably I would advise the client a bit more specifically on the timelines that they would expect to get the deliverables done. For example, the branch incorporated and when they can expect to get the bank account open within the requirements that the Tajik government authorities are imposing, so that we can get the companies incorporated and the bank account open.
Fantastic. Previn, thank you so much for your time, for introducing us to Tajikistan, and let this be the first of many for you. And we look forward to speaking to you again soon on another of your interesting engagements. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mark. Take care.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.